Councilors, today is Tuesday, January 24th. The time is now 2:08. I call to order the Administration Committee meeting. Councilors, and I thank those councilors who are also not members of the Administration Committee, I thank everyone for being present this afternoon. Just going down the agenda, we do not have approval of the minutes. Those minutes have not been presented to us, and so we will not have any action, or you did not receive any copies of minutes for approval. Under new business, we did have before us today a resolution amending the Citizen Participation Plan, which was adopted on May 14th as resolution number 971-13, and adopting the amended plan, which was revised on November 22nd, 2022. Councilors, this amended plan with the red line changes was distributed by email to the committee members and to councilors as well. Today we had planned a presentation by the community, services, community development team, and the lead person that was to present that to us does have a family emergency and is not able to be with us today. So the action I'd like to take is that we continue to review the red line documents that were presented to us. If I could receive comments by email that I will forward to that department director so that they can understand what our concerns and what our questions are regarding those changes. And if you could get that communication to me within a week, then we could look at rescheduling another meeting of the Administration Committee meeting, or we can delay that meeting until the next scheduled meeting, which would be in February. Any questions regarding that request? Yes, Ms. Abbott. It seems like a markup of the markup of the markup. Or if you just want to give me so that I can give some feedback to them of what, from our original review, what questions or concerns we might have from just this first read through. And then that would better prepare the presenter. It's when they come through, it's not so much as if they're presenting this information to us for the first time, but now we are responding to the email red line that we received.
Administration Committee.
Yes, Councilor Clark.
What might be the process for us proposing additional changes that were not same process, but just separate them from, I might have a comment to what was proposed by them, but I also might have a procedural change I'd like to pursue while we're monkeying with this.
I'm going to defer to administration. My thinking is this plan, the Citizen Participation Plan, is established, or it comes under, we received all these changes by virtue of feedback from the CAB, as well as the staff that manage this process for us. So I feel that we can put that information back out there in comments. That's what I'm asking for now, for comments or concerns you have about what's been presented to us.
But we're the approving body, and we can make any changes we want. It's just that it would be polite to send them back to them.
Yeah, because I feel like there's some things that COVID introduced into the whole meeting process that it just needs some standards, because we expect these neighborhood associations to be advisory to the council on matters of zoning and liquor license. But if you're on a conference call, it's hard to know who's on there. It's hard to count votes. Maybe some minimum standards for an electronic meeting should be established, because I feel like if you use Zoom or a similar platform, if you don't have a computer, you can still dial in, and you'd be visible and countable.
I think your concern is very adequate, because I can even go a step further. We are governed by utilization of our Zoom calls and how we are governed through ethics. of how we should have those meetings and account for those meetings and take place of those meetings. I was just on a neighborhood meeting last week, and it was obvious that that meeting, I believe it was hacked, because someone kept playing music over we couldn't talk, and we kept asking if anyone, please mute your phone, that type of thing. So even those type of guidelines of what we're using to provide those meetings to our residents is in the form of that neighborhood meeting, and then how we document who was there.
I think we need
how each person voted. There are a lot of things that could be added to that. I agree with you, that have now come to light because of COVID. I agree. Mr. McDaniels, were you going to try to help answer, or do we give the suggestions to Councilor Clark? Do you think of any other suggestions we have of how to communicate? Say, for instance, when we want to suggest additional things to this document?
Madam Chair, I don't necessarily have an answer to Councilor Clark's question. However, I do want to say that Alice Williams, who is an administrative employee, did ask for the council to take the resolution under advisement. Because the CAB has had the document for quite some time, for you to act upon the resolution without feedback, may be too soon. So the ask from the administration was for the council to take it under advisement and to bring it back at a later date, which could include the observations that have been made by several of your colleagues. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, thank you. Councilor Clark, does that give some direction in Councilor Abbott on what the expectation would be as a result of this meeting and the fact that we don't have anyone here to actually walk us through some of the proposed changes? Because I would also be looking for the rationale.
So maybe we could submit our comments and let them be considered, and if they like them, incorporate them, and so the next version we see is an evolution from where we are today. Could that be, at least from the committee standpoint?
I think so, but I want to get discussion from the committee. Councilor Abbott.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, this is ours to approve or disapprove, and if we have things we'd like to see, like we could say the committee would like to see written protocol for situations such as the pandemic when the in-person neighborhood meetings can't be conducted, the protocol for doing it, because they sent out a protocol to all the neighborhood officers, but a lot of them didn't follow it because it was hard. It was hard on a conference call, even a Zoom call, to know who was there, because if you don't want anybody to look at you, you might just have something pop up and you can put anything on there. You can call yourself any name. And so I think that for us to make suggestions and just say we'd like to see this added to the CP plan.
Yeah, some sort of standard or protocol for, and then the hybrid ones are dicey too, because maybe you can, if you're in person, everybody on the phone can hear you, but you can't hear everybody because they've got a phone versus
You're on the computer.
Don't have a loudspeaker or PA system. So I just think if, the hybrid ones are trickier to host if you don't have the right equipment, because I've been in a meeting holding a phone and a microphone. trying to make sure the people in the room and the people on the Zoom can hear.
Okay.
And so it's just...
Yeah, it's a mess.
And nobody in the room knows who all is on the phone.
Correct.
And vice versa.
But we probably had, I probably participated in one of the worst ones last week when it came to, I could cite everything that you just said. All of this happened on that one call. So truly it's time for us to, Izola's smiling, we were all on that same call. So let me ask then, councilors, what I'd like to propose is that action on this particular item is that we take in consideration the red line that has already been presented to us. We give ourselves either a 1 or 2 week window to make comments back to Ms. Williams for their for her to incorporate these or to, put these in line with what we've already been presented. Mr. McDaniels, do you have another?
Madam President, just in line with your observation, have you considered maybe a broader window to give additional members of the community to respond? I don't know, and I can't speak for that department, but if other members of the community have not seen the suggested recommendations in the resolution, extending the opportunity to a broader community could be helpful towards the input you're seeking.
The only reason I want to try to put a pause on that is because the document is before us as the council in this instance, and we need to give that feedback. We, as the governing body here, need to give that feedback back to Ms. Williams and her staff. And I think at a later time, if the council felt we needed that additional feedback, I won't say from a layman's term, but from a resident's term, then we could look at that. But for this document...
I think that's where this is coming from, though. It's coming to us from the residents or their representatives. They're representatives. It's a representative form of government.
Members of the CAB, though, even though they come from the neighborhood ranks, they do represent the residents. But then when you get to that level of the people that are on the CAC, then you're talking about the, the neighborhood, the community leaders. Mm-hmm. So you're utilizing their voice from the residents at that level to feed into this document. I don't know. Both of you have neighborhood presidents.
But I think that if we make suggestions back to Alice Williams, it's Alice Williams' job to deal with the CAB and the CAC and whoever the heck else there are that need to be. I think those are the people that need to be in on it. Then they need to react to what we've asked for. And I would think, I know for a fact on the issue of the protocol, I know for a fact they sent all the neighborhood officers a protocol that they were supposed to be following. It just didn't always work. But they have a protocol, and it wouldn't be bad for it to be in the guidelines.
So just incorporate whatever that protocol is.
Right.
I had some other questions, and I don't know that we want to answer them in this forum or just think about them, but for CAC officer election, it does not necessarily state that the president of the community has to be one of the presidents of the neighborhoods.
It doesn't have to be. It just has to be an officer.
I know it doesn't have to.
But it doesn't say.
It does say what you just said, but I'm saying these are thoughts I had, that the president should be one of the presidents, and that to the greatest extent possible, it seems to me that all of the officers should be from a different neighborhood. I know that's not always possible, but it would be sort of a goal so that the community officers are more representative of the whole community, instead of, like, say, all the community officers being from the same neighborhood, or the vice president and the president being from the same neighborhood. I mean, how do the other neighborhoods in the community, I just think it would create more engagement. It's just a thought. I'm not really saying we want to be that prescriptive, but if as a goal you sought to make the community officers come from if you're picking 3 officers, have them come from 3 different neighborhoods
within that community.
And I think the president is usually one of the presidents, not always.
In my area, we were always begging somebody to do the jobs, and so we'd take any officer who was willing to do it. But that was maybe we were fluky.
So that might create a hard-to-fill position, is what you're saying. Okay, the other thing is, we've had issues with the requirements of you have to go to 4 neighborhood meetings in 6 months or something to run for office, and a lot of people, had trouble qualifying, or they had bad roll data because they're having these telephone calls and
no meeting minutes.
Anyway, and no meeting minutes. So I just appointed people to the park board who had never been to a park board meeting. I'm just saying, is that something that has to happen? I mean, do we have to have people go to a meeting before they become, you feel like that's,
I think that's important.
okay.
Because people run for office for different reasons, and people who've never attended a neighborhood meeting are usually not running because they want to help the neighborhood. I mean, I think
Okay,
having.
I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, I
Or
think
maybe-
having attendance requirements is a good idea.
Or maybe
I
it could
think
be
it-
less
I think it
than-
strengthens the opportunity to be sure that the individual that is seeking the office has an understanding of what that role is and
Okay.
also what the role of the council is and what the role is and understanding what's going on in their neighborhood.
Do you think the number is appropriate? Is it 4 within 6 months?
It's 12 months,
That's
isn't it?
12, I thought it was 4
within
within
12
a year. So if you can't make 4 meetings in the year,
Okay,
that means
okay.
1 a quarter.
I'm okay.
I'm not attacking you on it, I'm just saying, it just.
Y'all think it's a good thing, and that's
I
fine.
think there's other variations that could be considered.
Okay, well, what about this whole petition process? Now, that seems very weird to me.
Well, that's if there's no competition,
But how do you know there's no competition?
because no one qualified to run except one person. You can't have petition voting until they declare who the
qualification has
candidates are.
closed.
Yeah, it's closed, and so you're the only one.
Okay, but what about write-ins?
Can't have a write-in and a petition.
But aren't write-ins allowed?
Not in petition voting, because there was only one person who qualified.
But I'm just saying, let's say 3 people qualified. Can a 4th person write in to be a candidate?
No, if you have petition.
It's under the petition.
No, forget the petition.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying 3 people qualified by the deadline.
If you go to the polls, you can write in anything you want.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But
Okay,
it's just if petition voting has been approved because only one person in each office ran, or one person in an office ran. You're allowed to do petition voting, but if you go to the polls, you can write in Mickey Mouse,
Which some have done.
which people have.
I just feel like even if one person ran, okay, I see what you're saying, petition, so there's no competition, there's nobody to.
Yeah, nobody wanted to run, except
So
the
you could just go
one
get,
person.
you still got to walk around and get the signatures. Okay, how many signatures do you have to get? I can't remember.
One
1?
or more.
We have some people that have been put in by one signature and it's their own.
We have a neighborhood president right now who was the only one that ran and the only one that
I just kinda got an issue with
voted.
that because I just feel like they should still have to go and get 40 or 50 because I feel like who's going to know they're even the president?
But if nobody bothered to,
But you won't ever, nobody will ever know. So I feel like one of the problems we have with this thing is it's so insular and it's the same people all the time. So if we don't check, I think in a neighborhood where you only got one person who wants to be the officer, you even got a bigger imperative to go touch other people. So even if you had to get 25 signatures, that's like you got to go hit 25 doors and say, hey, I'm about to be your president, uncontested.
I agree with you, the work should be on that individual to get
To get
buy-in
more
or to get more engagement.
well, maybe there could
Exactly.
be a minimum requirement.
That's what
Get
I'm
a minimum
saying.
of
Maybe a
25
minimum.
signatures or
Yeah.
a minimum of 50.
Just so-
And everybody that I know that has ever done petition voting tried to get as many as they could because it makes the neighborhood look bad if 3 people voted.
Yeah, and I just think
Or
we should
one.
challenge them to not, I mean, they shouldn't be able to get in with one vote, I'm sorry, one signature.
So these are the type of comments that
I really like to see us generate.
And I'm just
I know,
asking
that's
for,
good,
yeah,
no,
just to
because-
know.
Councilor Quinn, did you have it? I know
Yeah,
I'm
I
falling
just,
on you and Councilor Abbott since you've been neighborhood president.
so,
Remember this person.
you know, one of the things that I just want to point out is that the context of the citizens participation plan that we've been presented with is from the CAB. So it doesn't, I don't think Community Resource Services has tried to augment what the CAB has done, in terms of what I feel are very modest changes. I feel like what's being presented to us is almost entirely verbatim the same plan that was approved 50 years ago. And when we're talking about engagement, I think nobody would deny that we all communicate in a very different fashion than we did 50 years ago. So personally, I would like to have a more expansive conversation about what does modern community engagement look like, and how do we adapt the citizens' participation plan to reflect the way we do things nowadays, so but even before we get to that, just know that what you've been presented with is from largely a committee of the CAB that was assigned the task of going through the CP plan and suggesting changes to the larger body. So it's not even necessarily, the whole Citizens Advisory Board involved. It was really a handful of people, who were sort of the boots on the ground of evaluating this. So, but ultimately, I would like to think more expansively about community engagement and whether or not, this is still the right framework for us to do that. Because at the end of the day, I think we all want representation at the neighborhood level, and it has been very insular. Some of the people who were, some of the folks that are involved today are the same folks who were involved literally 50 years ago. So, is that really representative of these communities? Maybe, I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah. I feel like even if on neighborhood populations, we could come up with some participation goals or something that challenge them to not just, be satisfied with whoever shows up, to actually go out, welcome new people to the neighborhood. Tell them when the meeting is, or however, I've seen people do it different ways. Like when we do rides with our neighborhood presidents, so we had one neighborhood president she was brand new. She was so excited. Everybody she met, she told where the neighborhood meeting was, and when it was. And so, but it's just, and then age diversity too, because I feel like we're going to set ourselves up to not have a neighborhood association. So if we don't challenge them to get more young, people under 50, that's what we call it in Bush Hills. Like we're looking for people under 50 to participate because, everybody's 70 something and not getting younger. And so we just don't have the next generation engaged as much. And so just, I don't know how you put that in a plan, but I just think some goals around, just some values, like with your sorority, you all have challenges from national to meet certain objectives. So if we just gave them some challenges that maybe they could be rewarded on the back end through some kind of recognition, I don't know what's going to motivate people to really do it, but maybe those neighborhoods who, take those objectives seriously and try to grow their associations can be recognized as exemplary or model neighborhoods or something. I don't know, but I'm just saying we got to create some kind of incentive too for them to meet the standards.
I agree.
If we define some. But because I've seen people come in with ideas that just get shot down because there's not a young person in the room, and it's a young person presenting a business idea, and all the people in the room are saying, we don't need that in the neighborhood, and they're like, yes we do. But but it's just, there's just a gap in, the neighborhood is just not representative. There's nobody of that person's generation in the room to even validate their idea and say, yeah, this is great.
Well, I think what you're addressing is, what is it? Not generational gap, but how we're trying to incorporate all the generations that would make this sustain itself, because we're obviously about to age out in a lot of our neighborhoods, and how to, intergenerational, that's the word I'm looking for, how to put that in the forefront, maybe not written as I don't know how we'd write that in as a policy or as a requirement, but again, as just something to engage or something to reward the neighborhood for being able to meet those goals or to, push for those goals.
And we could use some help from the city to publicize the neighborhood associations, because when we got flyers in the mail, that may have been old school, but by golly, everybody got that reminder once a month because it came in the mail. What they did with it was their business. But, the flyer came out, and the flyer told what was going to be on the neighborhood's agenda and what initiatives were going on. And it kind of was a way for people to both find out what was going on, but to get their interest piqued where they would show up at a meeting. Well, now it's silent. The city website doesn't have, doesn't
Owner
have any
meetings and the liquor license
information.
meetings, that's when you pack the room.
Yeah. Back when those bulletins came out,
Yeah.
the zoning meeting would pack the house, a liquor license would pack the house.
Well, liquor licenses, school changes, neighborhood border changes, that'll get people out. But anyway, we don't have any means of publicity except Facebook pages and stuff like that, but you have to go to them. So, to me, we need a multi-pronged approach. And in my neighborhood, the reason I ended up being a neighborhood officer was that the old officers, who were older people, each one of them was assigned by the officers to go out and recruit a young person to take their place. And each one of them did. And the three of us agreed, yes, we'll give it a try. And the older people didn't quit coming to the meetings, but they wanted younger people under the age of 50, well under, to take their places and get involved, because they said, y'all can actually do things that we are too old to do. If you have a tree planting, the people who are 75 are not coming out and planting the trees. They're looking for their grandson to come help.
And you need somebody to host your Zoom call, because you only know how to do a conference call.
Yeah. If you don't have Daryl Lee, you're in trouble.
All right then, Councilors, let's go ahead then. If you would allow, if we would give us a period of time, in the essence of the fact that we don't have the representation here to lead us through this, we could give our comments back to the Community Resource Office, and even with suggested changes, as well as rationale for other platforms to do things.
This was still good because it gave me a chance to vet some of my ideas that I won't be putting in the comments now, because I know they won't sell.
No, I think you ought to put them in there. I mean, increasing participation, putting something in to help people figure out how they can do that. And most neighborhoods need help because you try all kinds of things, neighborhood events and stuff, and sometimes they're successful events, but people still don't start coming to the neighborhood meetings. They're watching TV or, whatever it is they do at night. They're not coming out to a neighborhood meeting.
Right, 2 weeks.
Frustrating.
2 weeks being now. So we'll just put in the minutes. We'll ask, and I'll send out an email, ask for those comments and suggestions, and we'll forward that back over to Ms. Williams' office. And then our next administration meeting is currently scheduled for the 28th of February, and then we'll come back at that time. Review those. All right. On to old business. We also had a planned review of the transparency form that was going to be presented by the Office of City Attorney. Thank you. I was going to say Community Attorney. And, but they have requested that we delay that for 4 weeks in being able to prepare that and get that document back to us. So is there I don't know if we need a vote, but we've just been asked to delay it for 4 weeks.
Well, I move that we delay both items to our next meeting.
Thank you. Very good.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, thank you. Both of those items then will be delayed until our next meeting with the comments to be generated back to us so I can get those back in.
Okay, what date do you need?
And that was
to-
February 28th at 2 p.m.
But
Okay,
we have 2
but-
weeks to get our comments in.
Yes, because give them time then to prepare for the February meeting.
Okay, so that would be
And the 2 weeks for that, thank you, Councilor Clark. What date is that? I don't have my phone up. 2 weeks from
7th of
today?
February.
7th of February. Thank you.
February 7th.
February 7th for the comments, and then February 28th for the meeting. All right? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Any other, you got a thought going there, Ms. Abbott?
Well, I was just thinking about, I was just thinking. It takes you a while when you get older.
Trust me, those engines aren't firing for me as much as they used to. Councilor Tate, did you have anything? Thank you so much.
I mean, I agree with, everything that you all were saying, because as Mr. Clark said, and you, like you said, intergenerational, things are changing. And so, we all have said that neighborhood participation needs to increase. And even when you're Zooming, I mean, even if people can't participate, it has to be some balance there, where those that cannot join in person, it needs to be another outlet. Yeah, so, yeah.
All right. Well,
That's
thank
all,
you.
madam. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move adjournment.
All right, thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.